ॐ भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti. Text 19.
Are we not reading from 1 to 19?
Mataji, I think 19 to 36.
Okay, I was told it should be 1 to 19, and ideally it should be 1 to 19 because today we're going to discuss verse 19.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was told on the group by Shakshi Mataji that it's going to be 1 to 19. So it is better we read 1 to 19. And then from tomorrow onwards, we can start from 20 because verse 20 will be discussed tomorrow.
Okay, Mataji. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit say. Text 1. Suta Uvacha अथ ते सम्परेतानां तवानाम् उदकम् इच्छतां दातुं संकृशना गङ्गायां पुराक्षत्रययुः स्त्रियः.
Suta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front.
Text 2. तेनिन्योधकं सर्वे विलप्य च भृशं पुनः आप्लुता हरिपादाब्ज रजः पुत सृजज्जले.
Having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganges water, they bathed in the Ganges, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Text 3. Tatrashinam kurupatiam dhratarashram sahanujam gandharim putra shokartam pratham krishnam cha madhavah.
There sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaja Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with grief. Lord Krishna was also there.
Text 4. Sandvayam asha munibhir hata bandhun sucharpitan bhuteshu kalasya gatim darshayanna parikriyam.
Citing the stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Sri Krishna and the Munis began to pacify those who were shocked and affected.
Text 5. Sadhayitva jata shatruho swam rajyam kitaverratam ghatayitva sato ragnaha kacha sparsha kshatayusah.
The clever Duryodhana and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthira, who had no enemy. By the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous kings who joined with Duryodhana were killed by him. Others also died, their duration of life having decreased for their rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi.
Text 6. Yajayitvashvamedhastam tribhir uttama kalpakeh yadyashah pavanam diksho satamanyorivatanot.
Lord Sri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Asvamedha Yagnas, horse sacrifices, to be conducted by Maharaja Yudhishthira, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices.
Text 7. Amantraya panduputramscha sanyodhava samyutah dvaipayanadibhir viprah पूजितः परिपूजितः.
Lord Sri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas headed by Srila Vyasadeva. The Lord also reciprocated greetings.
Text 8. Gantum kritamate brahman dwarakam ratham ashitah upalebhe abidhavantim uttarambhala vidvalam.
As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwarka, he saw Uttara hurrying toward him in fear.
Text 9. Uttarovacha pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam tvad abhayam pasye yatra mrityu parasparam.
Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality.
Text 10. Abhidravati mam isha sharastaptyasa vibho kamam dahatu mam natha mame garbho nipatyatam.
O my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally, if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord.
Text 11. Suta uvacha upadharya vachastasya bhagavan bhakta vatsalah apandavam idam kartum droner astram abhudyata.
Suta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashvathama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family.
Text 12. Tarhya evath munishreshtha Pandava pancha shanyakan atmanobhi mukhan diptan alakshyastranya upadadu.
O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Shaunaka, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons.
Text 13. Vyayasam vikashya taddesham ananya vishayatmanam shudarshnena savastrena swanam raksham vyadhad vibhuhu.
The Almighty Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them.
Text 14. Antahastha sarvabhutanam atma yogeshwaro harihi swamanyayarvarodgarbham vairatyaha kurutantave.
The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy.
Text 15. Yadyape astram brahma shiras dva amogham chap trikriyam vaishnavam tej asadya samasmayad bragudvaha.
O Shaunaka, glory of Brigu's family, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Asvathama was irresistible and without check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, Lord Krishna.
Text 16. Mamam sthahai etad ascharyan sarvascharyan manye achyute ya idam maya devya srajyate avati hantya jaha.
O Brahmanas, do not think this to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn.
Text 17. Brahma tejo vinirmukter atmajay saha krishnaya prayanabhimukham krishnam idam aha prathasati.
Thus saved from the radiation of the Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons, and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home.
Text 18. Kunte uvacha namaste purusham tvadyam ishwaram prakrate param alakyam sarva bhutanam antarbahiravasthitam.
Srimati Kunti said, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all.
Text 19. Maya javanikachanam agnadokshajam avyayam na lakshyase mudhadrasha nato natyadharo yatha.
Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Shreya Mataji and Shriji Mataji, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you all of you. I'm coming after a very long time. So I'm kind of like a bit lost and confused. So please tolerate me and please forgive me. Because first of all, we're discussing such a wonderful part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, like Queen Kunti's prayers, and I just feel totally not qualified to be talking about this. But somehow or the other, fortunately, the verse that we are going to discuss today is actually one of my most favorite verses. So I don't know, Krishna has his plans. Anyways, let me just get the PowerPoint up. Okay. Okay, so you all can see the screen now. Okay.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, before we start, let's recite some prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire. I think I'll also read the translation. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvantam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastohiya Bhadrani Vidunoti Shruhatsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So let's come to today's verse. That is a very long purport. So today we are discussing verse number 19. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse 19. Maya javanika channam ajnanatakshajam avyayam nalakshesh mudha drisha nato natya dharo yataha. Translation. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. There's 2 pages of the purport. Does anybody want to read the purports?
May I read?
Yes, I didn't catch your name. Who is this?
It's Chetna.
Yes, please go ahead.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna confirms that less intelligent persons mistake him to be an ordinary man like us, and thus they deride him. The same is confirmed herein by Queen Kunti. The less intelligent persons are those who rebel against the authority of the Lord. Such persons are known as asuras. The asuras cannot recognize the Lord's authority. When the Lord himself appears amongst us as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, or in his original form as Krishna, he performs many wonderful acts which are humanly impossible. As we shall find in the 10th canto of this great literature, Lord Sri Krishna exhibited his humanly impossible activities even from the days of his lying on the lap of his mother. He killed the Putana witch, although she smeared her breast with poison just to kill the Lord. The Lord sucked her breast like a natural baby, and he sucked out her very life also. Similarly, he lifted the Govardhana hill just as a boy picks up a frog's umbrella, and stood several days continuously just to give protection to the residents of Vrindavan. These are some of the superhuman activities of the Lord described in the authoritative Vedic literatures like the Puranas, Itihasas, histories, and Upanishads. He has also delivered wonderful instructions in the shape of the Bhagavad Gita. He has shown marvelous capacities as a hero, a householder, as a teacher, and as a renouncer. He is accepted as Supreme Personality of Godhead by such authoritative personalities as Vyasa, Devala, Asita, Narada, Madhva, Shankara, Ramanuja, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanatha Chakravarti, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and all other authorities of the line. He himself has declared as much in many places of the authentic literatures. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Chaitanya Mataji. And we have another page. If another devotee would like to read, please.
I will read, Mataji.
Okay.
And yet there is a class of men with demonic mentality who are always reluctant to accept the Lord as the supreme absolute truth. This is partially due to their poor fund of knowledge and partially due to their stubborn obstinacy, which results from various misdeeds in the past and present. Such persons could not recognize Lord Sri Krishna even when he was present before them. Another difficulty is that those who depend more on their imperfect senses cannot realize him as the Supreme Lord. Such persons are like the modern scientist. They want to know everything by their experimental knowledge, but it is not possible to know the Supreme Person by imperfect experimental knowledge. He is described herein as Adhokshaja, or beyond the range of experimental knowledge. All our senses are imperfect. We claim to observe everything and anything, But we must admit that we can observe things under certain material conditions only, which are also beyond our control. The Lord is beyond the observation of sense perception. Queen Kunti accepts this deficiency of the conditioned soul, especially of the women class who are less intelligent. For less intelligent men, there must be such things as temples, mosques, or churches, so that they may begin to recognize the authority of the Lord and hear about Him from authorities in such holy places. For less intelligent men, this beginning of spiritual life is essential, and only foolish men decry the establishment of such places of worship, which are required to raise the standard of spiritual attributes for the mass of people. For less intelligent persons, bowing down before the authority of the Lord, as generally done in the temples, mosques, or churches, is as beneficial as it is for the advanced devotees to meditate upon Him by active service. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shreya Mataji. So before we continue trying to understand the verse, we'll just recite some more prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay. Okay, so so this chapter is prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit Maharaj sage, and from the 18th verse, actually the prayers of Queen Kunti is beginning. So she's reciting all these prayers to Lord Krishna when he is ready to leave to go back to Dwarka. And so from the 18th verse, she has started, she's kind of actually in these first three verses, that is 18th, 19th, and 20th verse, she is establishing the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in a way, kind of describing Krishna. Now, in the 18th verse, there's the last statement that is being made is that you are invisible, and previously in the verse, she says, Krishna is within and without. So then why is he invisible? Because he's within all of us, and he is outside. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. And still, Queen Kunti says that he is invisible. So why is she saying that? And here then, Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna reserves the right of not showing himself to souls that are not surrendered to him. So yes, he is within and without, he is everywhere. But unfortunately, if we are not surrendered to him, if we are not accepting him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will not be able to see him. And we have examples of that from our own scriptures where Krishna has been present directly in front of personalities, but they have not been able to recognize him as Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any names that any of you could shout out as to, when he was present, but people didn't recognize him? Any names that come to your mind?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Duryodhana.
Of course, straight away, Duryodhana. Anybody else? Any other names? No? So we've got Duryodhana, we've got Shishupal, we've got Jarasandh, Kamsa, all of these people, although Krishna was directly in front of them, they could not recognize him as Krishna himself, right? And then the other aspect is that there is a curtain of Maya. And that brings us actually to then this verse. So on purpose, I've just discussed a little bit of the previous verse so that we can see how it carries on and connects. So here then, Kunti Maharani is talking about how there is this curtain of Maya. So she's talking about Maya Javanika Channam. Maya is material nature. Javanika is the curtain, and Channam, Achanna means covered by. So unfortunately, our vision is covered by Maya, and that is why we are not able to see or recognize Krishna. And the analogy that our previous teachers, gurus use is like how sometimes we see that the cloud is covering the sun. When the cloud is covering the sun, it does not mean that the sun does not exist. The sun is still there, but it is just that, and the cloud is not able to cover the sun. The cloud is actually covering our vision. We are not able to see the sun. That is what is actually happening. So same way, Maya is not able to cover Krishna. Maya cannot do that. Maya is covering our vision. It is our vision that is getting affected, and our vision is covered, and that is why we are not able to see. And then the verse goes on to say, Agyan. Krishna is not visible to the foolish observer. Krishna will not show himself to people who are ignorant, who are controlled by the modes of ignorance and passion. I was reading a lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and he said that people who are in the modes of ignorance and passion will never be able to see Krishna or understand Krishna. You have to somehow or the other rise at least up to the mode of goodness, Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna gives you that mode, then allows you to get knowledge. And so then Prabhupada explains in his lecture, he says that only by knowledge we will be able to see Krishna. However, our knowledge is also limited. So what it means here is our knowledge is that we manufacture words or syllables from A to Z, right? So like we know 26 syllables, A to Z, A, B, C, D, whatever, like that. And then same way, in the Sanskrit, we have syllables like, I don't know how many of you have studied the Hindi or the Sanskrit alphabets, like we have syllables like A, I, E, O, like that, so many syllables. I just picked up this like that. And the end is sh. So from a and sh, that is aksha. And akshaja means that the knowledge or the words or the understanding developed by these words, these syllables from a to sh. Now, the problem is that our understanding, our advancement, our knowledge is going to be limited between this a and sh, that is aksha, right? So we've got a limitation. This is our understanding. Like so many times, Prabhupada gives the example that with our material vision or material understanding, if we are sitting in one room, we cannot see beyond the walls of that room in the next room also in the same house, because the wall is obstructing our vision. And although we know the limitation that we have, we still always have this point to say, I don't believe in God because I can't see God. How can you see God? And how can you say you don't believe because you don't see? Then in that case, why is it that you're ready and willing to accept that we've got the Antarctica and the Arctic? Have you gone there? You haven't. So why are you ready to accept these things? You're ready to accept the material knowledge that is given to you, but you're not ready to accept the the spiritual knowledge, and you want to question. So What is being explained here now, the word that is being used here is Maya Javanika Channam. And let me just go back to the verse because it's important that I need to keep going back to this verse today. Sorry, hold on a second. Here. Yeah, so the verse says Maya Javanika Channam. So we've understood the terms Maya Javanika Channam. We've understood the word Agyan, which is ignorant. Adokshajam. Adokshajam is beyond the range of material conception. So here we are talking about our understanding, that our understanding is limited between the terms A and Ksha, right? And although it is limited, we are trying to understand the unlimited, the Adokshaja. Akshaja is measurement of our senses. Adokshaja means that which is beyond the measurement of our senses. So how are we going to understand Adokshaja with our limited senses? We cannot. And this is what Queen Kunti actually is expressing, that we cannot understand you with our limited senses. There is no way that we can understand you, right? So, and then in the purport, it says that, yet there is a class of men with demoniac mentality who are always reluctant to accept the Lord as the supreme absolute truth. Although we know our limitations, although we know that we cannot know everything because our senses are imperfect, still we have the demoniac people who do not want to accept the Lord as the supreme absolute truth based on the scriptures, because, and in the purport, Prabhupada explains, and Queen Kunti actually talks about this. So in Bhagavad Gita, verse 9.11, Krishna says, when I descend in my personal form, deluded persons are unable to recognize me. They do not know the divinity of my personality as the supreme Lord of all beings. And in the purport, there is quite a lot of discussion about when he comes as Lord Ram, Lord Varaha, Narsingadev, Krishna himself. The ignorant and foolish men think of him as just another normal person. They are not able to recognize him as the supreme personality of God. And in the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 1, verse 20, there is this beautiful verse which says, Kritavan kila karmani saha ramena keshava ati martyani bhagavan buddha kapata manusha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being. And so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. Now, because Lord Krishna and Balaram are playing like a human being, so they have covered their activities. However, they are performing many superhuman acts. And in the purport also, Prabhupada is saying this, that the fact that as a baby, he was able to kill the demoness Putana, pull the life air out of her, he was able to lift Govardhan mountain. These are superhuman activities, but somehow or the other, because our eyes are covered, we are not able to recognize this adokshaja. We are not able to see this. And then the word used is avyayam, irreproachable or faultless. Krishna is faultless. The fact that we cannot recognize him does not make him less of a god. In the sense that if I cannot see the sun, does not mean that the sun is not shining. That is my limitation. The sun is shining in all its glory, right? So avyayam meaning is that the fault, Krishna is faultless, the fault is in me that I am not able to recognize him. When he comes as a human being, foolish and ignorant men think of him as just another human being. Sometimes people may think of, like a person who has some extra powers or siddhis, that's all. That is how Duryodhan thought of him. He thought that he just has some mystic powers. He was not willing to accept him as Lord. So when I was listening to this lecture, it said that our eyes are covered. Now, the funny thing is that the eyes of the devotees also are covered sometimes, and we also are not able to recognize Krishna. And why is that? It's very interesting. So devotees' eyes are also covered sometimes, but devotees' vision is covered by prema. So although we see, and I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about devotees, like great devotees like Yashoda Mai. So Yashoda Mai, when Krishna showed her the universe in his mouth, for a moment, she just couldn't believe what she was saying. And then again, Krishna covered her, her thoughts, because obviously there is a reason, and we don't want to go into the full details of it. But obviously, Krishna is enjoying this Leela with his parents. He wants to be treated like a child. He wants the love of his mother. He does not want that love to be overshadowed with awe and reverence. So the devotee's vision sometimes is covered by prema. And that is why, although so many activities and so many leelas Krishna performed while he was a child, in Vrindavan, in Rajdham, in Nandagaon, when he was a child, but the elderly Gopas and Gopis did not think of him as the Lord. Even when Krishna's Gopa friends, cowherd boy friends would come to Mother Yashoda or Nanda Baba and say that, we actually saw Krishna doing this. But the elderly Gopas and Gopis would think, no, this is just, the Lord being merciful. Or at times when the pastime of this Shakatashura, I don't know how many of you know this story, but just in brief, Krishna was put to sleep under this cart, like wooden carts. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but when I was growing up in India, when I used to visit my ancestral village, we used to travel on these carts sometimes. It was a fun thing for us to do. But anyways, when he was on this cart, actually this cart, Shakatashura had taken this form of the cart, and Krishna, being Krishna, knew this, and he kicked the cart. And obviously he killed Shakatashura, and the children, his friends, saw him kicking the cart. But obviously the elder Gopas and Gopis, thought Yashoda Mai immediately took him and she started feeding him. She was so worried about him. And she, in her mind, was thinking there's some evil spirits, so I must look after my child. I must say some prayers and all of that. So they couldn't see Krishna as the Supreme Lord because their vision is covered by prema. However, the demoniac people cannot see Krishna because their vision is covered by Maya. And there are reasons, again, in the purport, Queen Kunti is actually giving the reasons why demoniac men cannot recognize the Lord. And she says this is partially due to their poor fund of knowledge. We've already discussed how our knowledge is limited. But the problem is that although our knowledge is limited, we don't recognize that it is limited. Even like today, if you see the scientists and that, they want proof for everything. And if there is no proof, they will reject that because there is no proof to it. Although they don't recognize that their knowledge is limited, they will not accept things. Again, here, partially due to their stubborn obstinacy, and that is what it is, that we are obstinate, we are stubborn, we think we know it all. We think that we are far too intelligent. And many a times we see that we don't want to believe our scriptures because it almost kind of makes us look that we are not intelligent, because apparently in today's world, an intelligent person should only believe what he can see or what he can prove. That's the unfortunate situation that we are in. And then the third point is, which we've also kind of touched upon, that we depend more on our imperfect senses. Prabhupada is explaining this, that with our imperfect senses, we cannot realize the Supreme Lord. And because of these things, because we cannot recognize the Lord, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that because we don't understand his transcendental appearance and activities, we will not be able to enter the eternal abode. Krishna is saying only one who knows the transcendental appearance and activities will not take birth in this body again. But if we don't recognize that, demoniac men, if we don't recognize that we will be stuck in the cycle of birth and death again and again, constantly, right? So Queen Kunti here is expressing the deficiency that we have. But at the same time, obviously, she's saying it is not a loss to Krishna. It is our loss that we are not able to understand this, right? And then the last part, the last lines of the verse says, Nato na natyadhara yataha. This is very simple to understand, but also very deep. When we go to, watch a movie or a play or whatever else, sometimes we get so absorbed with the character that we fail to recognize the person, or we fail to recognize that this is just a movie. Now, I don't know how many of you this happens, but when you're watching an emotional movie or a drama, especially if there's a child involved. I mean, with me, it used to happen. I haven't watched movie for a while now, but with me, it used to happen that, if there's a child involved, if there's something like that happening, automatically I would have tears. Now, I know that this is a drama, but, you just get so absorbed that you forget that this is a character. You forget that what is the original, that's one thing, one way of looking at it. And the other thing that are the one of the other explanations that I was listening to, and Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was saying that if ever you've gone to watch classical dance recital or listen to classical singing or music. Now, I had the good fortune of learning Bharatanatyam for a good number of years, I think maybe 6 or 8 years. And there are a lot of mudras in all of these classical dances, not just Bharatanatyam. I speak about Bharatanatyam because I've learned it. There are lots of mudras. And if you listen to the songs also, the songs are based on, many times the songs are based on our scriptures, in the sense that Krishna's activities, Lord Ram's activities, and the mudras are depicting various things. Somebody who doesn't understand classical dance will not be able to understand what is happening there, what is the story. And at times one may actually just really get bored, will not know what is going on. The same way, if you go to listen to a classical music, if you don't have the understanding of the ragas or the sur and tal, you just won't be able to appreciate it, right? This we discussed that, when you see an actor, you forget that he's an actor, you forget the original person, but you only see how he is dressed. So like that, Krishna is not visible to each and everybody. Everybody cannot see Krishna. Only those people who have devotion can understand Krishna. You can only understand Krishna by devotion, by devotional activities, and of course by the mercy of gurus, acharyas, and Krishna himself. There is no other way that one can understand Krishna. And that is what Queen Kunti is actually expressing here. She's expressing her own shortcoming, although she's such a wonderful devotee and she's talking and she's glorifying Krishna, but at the same time she's so humble that she's saying that how will I understand you, because you are, our vision is covered, so how will I understand you? And of course, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. And once we engage ourselves in service with determination, that is the only time that we will be able to see Krishna. Krishna will show himself to us. There is no other way of seeing Krishna at all. So in essence, what we are discussing in this verse is how people in the mode of ignorance and passion can never understand or see Krishna. Foolish and ignorant people, even if Krishna is in front of them when he has descended as Ram Rama, Lord Rama, Narsingadev, Varaha, Krishna himself, we have not been, or people have not been able to accept him as the supreme personality of Godhead. And as we have seen, there are reasons. We depend a lot on our limited knowledge, on our limited senses. But with these limitations, we will never be able to understand Krishna. And so the only way of understanding Krishna is if we surrender to him, surrender to the process of Krishna consciousness, perform devotional activities, perform devotional services. And if we get the mercy of our gurus and of Krishna himself, then someday we may be able to see Krishna. So I shall stop here. It's 31 past 8. I like to finish on time. So if there are any questions or comments or corrections, please unmute yourself and feel free. No questions, no comments? We've got a very quiet group today.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Pranam.
Come to you, Mataji.
Mataji, all I want to say is that thank you so much. You know, all you devotees, you read this Bhagavatam to us, especially to me. I mean, you know, without your, effort of doing this service, we would never be able to understand Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, you know. So it's you, when you speak, you make it so easy for me to understand that, you know, I love every minute of it. I just quietly just listen every day.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I myself don't understand at all. I try my best to just repeat whatever I hear and read. That's all I can do. And even that, I'm sure I make mistakes, but thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. This is Mamta here. Just a small, a thought. Basically, you were saying about how we watch movies and then we get so emotionally involved. But the same thing also we get involved with when we do devotional service too.
Yes.
So how do we differentiate?
See, but that's what, we always, when we talk about Krishna consciousness, the one thing that I've always kept saying and kept, going on about is your activities necessarily will not change because you are in the material world, you are in the material body, you will still be a wife, a mother, or daughter, or whatever else. Prabhupada never asked us to renounce everything. So your activities don't change, but your consciousness change. So the fact that you're going to be absorbed in devotional service is the highest form of devotion, and that is what everybody should strive for. That is the highest level of bhakti that one can reach. So if you are absorbed in that, and from personal experience and what I've heard from other devotees, I've heard that they may be having so many difficulties in their material life and, at work and whatever else. As soon as they start doing some kind of devotional service, they just forget about everything else because they're just so absorbed in the service. And that is just amazing. And that's what one wants. So the propensity for us to get absorbed in things is there. The propensity for us to love is there. The propensity for us to perform austerities is there. Like it says that the propensity to love Krishna is within us, but we have decided to forget it and enjoy ourselves independently. So Krishna consciousness is within all of us. We just have to awaken it. So, when you said this, it is so wonderful when you're saying that we get absorbed in movies, but we also get absorbed in devotional service, because the propensity to get absorbed is there, because the propensity to love is there. When I say propensity to love, it's described by our acharyas that the purest form of love in material world that one can form, one can identify, which you can kind of relate to with, love for Krishna, is what a mother has for her child. And a mother performs so many austerities, the austerity of staying awake all night. and still probably going to work, as many of us have to, because if we don't have a choice, that's an austerity, and you still do it willingly. So you have that propensity. Now what you have to do is dovetail all your activities towards Krishna, how to please Krishna. That's all that you have to do. And that is why Krishna consciousness is easy and so simple for the simple, but sometimes we make it complicated. There's no need, really.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for explaining wonderfully. The lesson was absolutely wonderful today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so if not, then we will stop here, and hopefully I shall see you all again very soon. Thank you for attending. Vanchakalpatrubhascha Koti Vaishnavim ki Jai Shri Jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you so much for a fantastic class. Her Grace Madhu Kumari Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.